here to stay. I'm here to stay.
114 senior debuts, hundreds of goals and thousands of appearances. Today we are celebrating all things Academy in what is our annual Academy Day and Valley Gold. As for the senior side, well, they face a side who are chasing the playoffs. It is Wycombe Wanderers that come to town today. They're just 4 points off 6th. Gareth Ainsworth has gone. Fellow club legend Matt Bloomfield is in charge. And he started his managerial reign there by winning 2 of his first 6 matches. So he really could do with getting a run going. We are live streaming today's game worldwide owing to the international break. We've got a packed show to bring you before kick-off. Here's just a taster of what is to come. We'll hear exclusively from manager Dean Holden, who I spoke to a little earlier this afternoon. As I said, it's Valley Gold and Academy Day, so we'll be celebrating the continuous success of our youth system. And staying on the subject of the Academy, we'll hear from one of our own, midfielder Albie Morgan, who has worked his way back into the starting 11 and helped us with those 2 victories. Well, Curbs is still sunning himself on a beach somewhere on another continent, isn't he, Brownie? So delighted to say, alongside Brownie and myself, we do have a man who's helping to bring in the next generation of youngsters through at the club. Welcome to Charlton TV, Danny Senda. Danny,
Thanks.
how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me on.
I mean, I think it's the perfect game for you, isn't it? Over 300 games for Wycombe as a player, and now our under-21s boss as well. How much are you looking forward to it?
I am looking forward to it. Yep, split allegiances today, I won't lie. A lot of my upbringing as a young man, to say the least, is yeah, it's going to be a good game, I hope, and one that I can firmly sit on the fence on.
Yeah, well, one you can't lose in, clearly. Yeah. And look, you've done 2 commentary games for us in the first team as well. 4 points we've picked up. Are you our lucky charm? Can you continue that today? How do you see it going?
Well, I hope that we do get the result. I'm not sure about being a lucky charm, but certainly if we can, follow on from 2 really good away performances, and we can now bring it home against a good Wycombe side, we mustn't, forget that. Yeah, we can hopefully keep the run going. It would be a positive for us.
Brownie, look, I mean, we're going to be celebrating the Academy in Valley Gold before kick-off this afternoon. Since the inception of Valley Gold, you know when it was?
88?
89. Oh. So I just miss out, but you're involved.
Of course.
In it. Yeah. Do you know how many of 114 Academy graduates made more Charlton first-team appearances than one Stevie Brownie?
Can't be many, can there?
There's not many.
No. I need to say Robert. Then he didn't come through the system, did he? Go on.
Just chuck out a number on one hand.
What? How many appearances?
Yes. No. How many people? I wish I'd have asked this question now.
6. 6 more.
There's 3 people.
Oh,
do you know who they are?
No idea.
I'm going to tell you. Richard Rufus, Chris Solly and Sean Newton.
Yeah.
Newt's made 2 more than you.
And left 5 years before.
That tells its own story.
It's Curbs' fault.
If only Curbs was here,
I'm telling you, I could have played another 300 games if he fancied me a little bit more than he did. I swear to God.
But look, I mean, to both of you, how proud should we be of our academy here at Charlton Athletic?
Yeah, I mean, immensely proud. Not just for the ones that are on the pitch, the ones that have gone in the past. We've had such an impact on so many careers throughout the English game, certainly, and we've got many more to come. So, for us to celebrate this today, Scott, is fantastic for the young players and the club as a whole.
Yeah, I was just speaking about it over the lounge. The conveyor belt has never stopped. Might have had 1 or 2 quieter periods, but by and large, we've brought some serious players through this academy. I did give you a mention.
Did you?
I did. FA Cup winner Benfica went on to that, but I did give Konza a mention, and Gomez and Parker and I mean, the list is endless, mate, and it's a credit. But it did start up through pretty much, donations coming in because we were skint. And it started up, and that's how it got going, Valley Gold, and it's continued to this day. But it allowed us to put people in place that could go and find talent around South London, and that's what that did. It allowed us to put scouts in position to bring in the talent that we hadn't then nurtured. But it's it's been a godsend, hasn't it, for the last? I mean, it's try to think how much money it's made actually in terms of transfers.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be hearing from Matt Baker, the Valley Gold chair, a little bit later on as well. But let's talk about today to you, Brownie. I mean, look, we've done really well the last 2 matches, but fair to say it's another level or 2 up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are a tougher nut to crack for sure. I don't really need to go. I've done all this research, Scotty. It's all there sat, and Dan's like, wasted 2 hours of my life putting it together because he's just going to blow out the water. So I'm a bit scared
he's
to
the
go.
font of all knowledge
Yeah,
now,
I mean,
isn't he?
it's just he's rattled off a few Wycombe things, and I'm looking at my paper going, oh well, okay, didn't see that written down anywhere. So, but yeah, no, they're going to be a tougher nut to crack. They are pretty disciplined defensively. You know, they're less than a goal a game against, and they spend most games with a lower percentage than the opposition. So they are comfortable without the ball. They will sit behind it and they will ask you to break them down. I think what they do very, very well is on the transition, they become an attacking side. It doesn't lessen them as an attacking side doing that. So they're a tough nut to crack, but they are missing a couple of vital players, which Dan will go through.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you've just repeated everything that Danny said in the TV lounge. Is that what you're
No,
saying? So
no,
make
no,
it sound
I actually
like-
said all that, but it's a bits after that he came in with stuff, and I thought, oh, I've got a free day here. Thank God Curbs didn't put the card up. I can just sit back and talk about Charlton a little bit today rather than all the Wycombe stuff, which is fantastic.
And the Wycombe lads are out training, and the pitch looks really good. It's a beautiful March day, isn't it? Look, Danny, I'll give you the last word here. We'll talk about Wycombe. You can talk about Wycombe a lot more in depth a little bit later on. I've been told to ask you about your disco pants. What is this about your playing days at Adam Park and Danny disco pants?
I'm not overly sure, to be honest with you, Scott. I think it had something to do with when Tony Adams came in, and there was a myth that I enjoyed the local town with one or two of my other teammates, and I think Tony wanted to stop that. And the fans picked up on it, and it's kind of stuck from this day on. But it's nice. It's nice the fans can see I was one of their own. I was a local lad in the town, and yeah, I just wanted to get around the community and help the local services, really.
So Tony Adams is having a go at you for going out.
The irony.
Absolutely. Crikey.
We'll leave it there for now. Look, kick-off is at 3 o'clock, and due to the international break, you're able to get the match pass wherever you are in the world. Do you think Curbs will be doing just that?
He's got no chance. And look, we've had a giggle about Curbs. He's got his phone with him in Punta. He can't get it going here. He's got no chance of watching us
but
today.
He's still on the Nokia 1, isn't he?
He's got no chance.
He's got absolutely
Can you
zero
imagine?
chance. Anyway, wherever you are in the world, including the UK line and Ireland, you can get the match pass today. So please, if you're not doing anything between 3 and 5 o'clock, and even before then, of course, come and listen to us and watch the game. But let's hear from manager Dean Holden right now, who I caught up with edited earlier.
Dean, back at the Valley today after 2 very good victories on the road. How much are you looking forward to playing in front of the home fans?
Oh, very much so. I mean, I spoke in the week about needing to improve our home record throughout the season, and as you say, 2 good away wins on the spin gives the lads a bit of confidence. I've just been out, the pitch actually looks alright, it's got a bit of growth on it, so we're pleased with that. And no, we're looking forward to it. We need to make sure we give our supporters something to sing about at home. The ones that don't travel away from home will be maybe starting to think that they should swap it and go away. So we need to make sure that when they're coming here that we give them something to shout about.
That's right. It's 1 point from the last 4 home matches and 2 wins from 11. What do you put that down to, and how have you been trying to change that in training?
It's a great question, Scotty. Some of it's mentality. There's no doubt about that. You know, it's this place there's a lot of pressure to come and play in this stadium. Obviously, prior to me coming in, the club had not been on a great run, and just trying to build confidence. I think we've shown, as I say, in recent games, and some of the games here, in fairness, we've had some all right performances. We've not had a 90-minute performance at home just yet, but we got a few wins when I first came in here, which give us confidence. And it's just taking everything externally away from it. It's just playing the moment in front of you. Does it matter where you're playing, on a Sunday League pitch or at the Valley? Once you're on the pitch, it doesn't, does it? You just take care of the moment in front of you. Obviously, teams come here as a tactical element to where they might sit behind the ball and sit deeper, and we have, in honesty, found that difficult to break teams down. So there's different reasons for it. I'm not sitting on the fence there with that one. But we have to find a way. You have to find a way to win.
Yeah. So what? 2 straight victories, but what's the team today? Any changes?
One change, obviously Terrell Thomas is away. Congratulations to him, he texted me this morning. They had a really good win last night. I think they qualified for the first time for the prelims in the summer, so I'm not sure that's out in Vegas or somewhere, so I'm sure Terrell will be looking forward to that. So great for him.
A few people wanting to go out there.
Yeah, a few of the players maybe will be going to support him all of a sudden now, but obviously Cess comes in at left back. Cess had played well in the previous game, and obviously scored that worldie in the previous game here against Accrington, so looking for more of the same from him. But other than that, no, it's the only change.
Today is the club's annual Academy and Valley Gold Day. It's fitting to see so many young players being involved as well. How impressed have you been since you've come to the club at the quality of youngsters we've got at the club?
Yeah, well, I'd seen a bit before I come in, obviously. I'd watched a couple of games. The Plymouth one away stuck in my mind for a couple of reasons with the youngsters showing, that they've got something to come and play. The temperament's excellent at this part of the country. I don't know what that is, I don't know. But the talent on show, Tyrese Campbell coming in recently is, I think, another one. Miles, delighted to have today. Obviously, Miles come off at half-time last week, but he's cleared his markers in terms of all his physical markers. He's fit, he's ready to go again, which I'm delighted about. And young Zach Mitchell comes on the bench again today, which again is another, with Lucas Ness missing out. Unfortunately, Zach comes in. So we had a great chat on Thursday, myself and Steve Avery, Danny Senda. Peter Story was in there, and not just the group that we can see now. I'm sure that plenty of our supporters will know. You know, the 18s and under 15s obviously went abroad recently and got to the final, which was incredible. Beat PSV, I think, on the way there. So, no, there is a great talent factory down here, and it's amazing to be the manager with such a good underbelly of youngsters.
So we've got a young squad, but we're coming up against one of the most senior squads in the division in Wycombe. How tough will that be? How big a challenge for the youngsters?
Yeah, again, it's something you've got to adapt to, innit? And you're right, they've not really changed the style too much since, obviously, Gareth left to go to QPR. I don't think Matty's probably had the time to change the style that he would want to play, but we know what type of team Wycombe are. In the team meeting yesterday, as before I mentioned anything about tactics and video clips or anything to the players, I asked them questions about what they think they're going to expect. And they know the answers. They know it's going to be a direct game. They know that Wycombe are a team that run, that put you under pressure, they turn you around, they're keen as anything on them second ball. So we've got to be good in first contacts. I think Ryan Ennis and Michael Hector have built a decent relationship in the last couple of games. So Dobbo in front of them, making sure we pick up them second balls. We've shown the goal at Cambridge last week was a really good example where Michael wins first contact, Dobbo gets goal side to regain possession, and then all of a sudden we have a great bit of moment and we get Jez in down the side to score for Miles Leeburn's goal. So I actually shown the goal in reverse order. We showed the goal and that's what led to it. And obviously went back to the beginning, which I've just touched on, which is really important in any game, obviously. So, it's a different type of challenge for us today. I'm looking forward to it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, big challenge. A few of their players out. We'll come on to that in just a second. Got to say well done to Tyrell for his St Lucia side beating Anguilla 2-1 in the CONCACAF Nations League. So really pleased for him that. And who knows, we'll go to Vegas. What are you laughing for? What?
I can't concentrate, Geese.
Why?
You killed him with a light in there, haven't you?
What do you mean?
Does any of the players say anything to him in the meetings?
No.
He had goggle eyes. He's been on a sunbed, hasn't he?
Oh, come on.
He's got to do it on a Wednesday. He can't do it on a Friday afternoon, can he? He's had a horror.
Let's get straight to the team news, shall we? And the team sheet for today. Just the one change, as you said, Stephen Sessegnon in for Tyrell. Danny, you know, you were commentating last week, of course, and it was a very good performance. 4-3-3. Do you feel, first of all, it kind of suits, the system suits the players we've got?
It certainly suits us on the forward line. I mean, if you look at that front line there with Jez and Tyrese and Miles, the physicality on the last line is incredible, to be honest. And then behind that, you've got real good balance in Fraser and Morgan. If you've got that type of player on the last line, they need to be fed and they need to be supplied. That being said, we're trying to have a bit of a variation of Tyrese and Jez coming inside, and that frees up Sess and Sean to join the attack as well. So we can have a real impetus, and I think that's what Dean's trying to do at the minute, is to be really, really aggressive with his team, but also make sure that we've got a real defensive balance, and that team gives us that.
It looks like Ryan and Michael have got a good relationship, or striking up a good relationship, as well as Lucas has done, Brownie.
Yeah, I mean, they're different ends of their career, aren't they? I mean, in terms of, you know, Lucas is breaking in, so very much learning the game as he goes week to week. Hector's been around a little while, so he's experienced quite a few things. He's probably positionally better at this moment in time. Not to say Lucas won't become better, he will. But they've struck up a nice partnership. But I mean, I was saying in the lounge over the other side, 2 wins were really important, really, really important. And we've caught teams cold in the first 45 minutes the last couple of games, which has got us that lead. But second half for me at the moment is where I'm looking for us to maybe make an improvement. It seems like we have the half-time break, and whatever they do as an opposition seems to affect us more than what we affect them at the moment.
Yeah. Good to see Zach Mitchell on the bench as well. But let's take a look at the league table now, shall we? We moved up 1 place to 11th with Saturday's victory at Cambridge. Even if we do get a victory today, that's where we'll stay, as there's a 7-point gap between us and Shrewsbury in 10th, who of course we face next weekend. There were a couple of significant results in midweek as Sheffield Wednesday saw their 23-match unbeaten league run come to an end at Barnsley. That game was a 6-goal thriller, with Barnsley coming out 4-2 on top, and look at them right now in 4th position. 6 points off the top 2, 8 points off Plymouth with 2 games in hand. And also on Tuesday night, Plymouth earned a very important 2-0 victory themselves away at Accrington to go back to the top. And Brownie, that is a brilliant result for Barnsley on Tuesday. So are we saying now 4-2?
We've got to. And do you know what? This is what makes football football, because we've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, if not months, it's 2 from the 3. So you have to give Barnsley an awful amount of credit. I mean, we've watched them here and we've watched them away, and particularly away game, I remember. We come away from that game, there wasn't a great deal. We lost 3-1, but we were excellent for 60 minutes. And we thought, OK, they're probably not going to feature this year. So whatever's happened there in January, or you know, to turn their season around, the results they've had recently have been absolutely fantastic. And you do now have to say, if anybody trips up, it's 2 from 4. They've put themselves right in the mix.
Danny, how far down does it go for you in terms of the playoffs? And for us as well, are we trying to chase down a top 10 spot?
Yeah, I mean, if we start with the playoffs, I think it realistically, Portsmouth, it's going to be a bit of a stretch, although they've had a bit of a bounce since the new manager's gone in there. But I think that's going to be quite a stretch. And the only reason I say that is because, like Brownie alludes to there, the top 6 have really come alive now, and they're not dropping points. And you can't really see from now to the end of the season that too many points are going to be dropped. You'd like to think Wycombe, after today, hopefully we get the result that we need, that they maybe have an outside chance of getting in around it, but it's so difficult now. That top 6 are relentless at where they're in. And then in terms of what we're trying to do, absolutely, I think a top 10 finish for how stop-start the season has been, the changes that we've had to finish in the top 10 would really, I think, put us in a position. If you look at the division there, it's almost like a mini championship, and not where we'd want to be, the bottom end of that size of those football clubs. We want to be higher, but I think top 10 kind of puts us in a nice position for next season to start to challenge for the playoffs.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Let's have a look at the fixture list today now, shall we? 6 games in League One. That's our into the final international window of the EFL season. Aside from our own, there are arguably 2 other big games this afternoon. One at the bottom of the table, one at the top half. MK Dons host Morecambe at Stadium MK. MK will move 4 points clear of the relegation zone if they can win today, while Morecambe will leapfrog them and move out of the drop zone if they can win. In the top half, Derby travel to Peterborough. Posh go 1 point behind Derby if they win. Derby will consolidate their place in the playoffs if they can get a victory. And tomorrow lunchtime, it is bottom against second top as Forest Green welcome Sheffield Wednesday to the new Bolts lawn. And Brownie, look, we've faced both Derby and Peterborough in recent weeks, therefore spoken about them quite a bit. Posh, on the other hand, been good at home, Derby not so good away, but I do like Derby and Paul Warne.
Yeah, I do.
How do you see that one going?
It's hard to call because of how Peterborough are. You know, they can win 3-1 and they can then go and get beat 5-2. They're a weird side, and they're one of the toughest ones to call. They've got more chance at home, in my opinion, than they have away, but yeah, I think Derby have had a little mini wobble, you know, and I do expect them to actually find their feet again and come again before the end of the season. We always talk about momentum and timing of hitting the right form at the right time. They've got to turn that round, because at the moment it's Barnsley that are in essentially, they're the one that are hitting form, and Derby have got to do something. But if there's one team, I think, with the right manager and the right team can do it, it will be Derby who turn it around.
Definitely. And Danny, just finally on this as well, I mean, it's good pressure at the top, it's horrible pressure at the bottom, isn't it? MK Dons and Morecambe, how would you be approaching that one? That's a big one, isn't it?
It's a huge one, and I'm currently on my UEFA Pro licence with Mark Jackson, who's at MK Dons at the minute, and he's trying to implement his ideas while still trying to keep the team in the division, which is not an easy balance to strike. Every team down there at the minute understand, a bit like us going to Cambridge, we saw in the second half that they quickly recognise that they've got to fight for everything they have. So it's going to be absolutely no different. When the 2 teams are going up against each other, they are like cup finals, and they'll understand that. So it's going to be really interesting to see the balance of how that looks at the back end of the season.
Yeah. OK, let's get to club news updates now, shall we? And we'll start off with ticketing news. It's set to be a busy month, isn't it? At the Valley in April, we'll contest our final 4 home matches of the season. On the 1st, we'll welcome Shrewsbury. Easter Monday, Burton will come to the Valley. We'll face Morecambe on Saturday, April the 22nd. And then we'll conclude our home campaign against Port Vale 7 days later. Tickets for all 4 of those matches can be bought by visiting booking.cafc.co.uk. All supporters can now get 70% off this season's popular black and blue third kit from the Valley Superstore. This also includes the green goalkeeper strip, and the offer means that adult third shirts and third goalkeeper shirts are now priced at just £15, while junior third shirts and third goalkeeper shirts have been reduced to £13.50. The offer is also applicable on shorts, with adult third shorts and third goalkeeper shorts marked down to £9, and junior third shorts and third goalkeeper shorts just £6.90. Did you get all that? You can take advantage of this offer by heading to the Valley Superstore in person or by going to clubshop.cafc.co.uk. And how about this? Our under-21s took on a Chelsea side that included N'Golo Kante in behind-closed-doors friendly at Cobham just yesterday afternoon. Danny, perfect timing again to have you with us. I mean, that must have been some experience for the boys to come up against the guy who, quite simply, has won everything.
He has, and you're right, it's an absolute experience, in particular for the likes of Harvey Kedwell, who's a second-year scholar, to go up against the World Cup winner, double Premier League champion, and the other boys that were in midfield. What I said to the boys yesterday was, once the game gets started and you get over the case you're playing against Kante, the mentality that we're trying to set within these boys is that they need to get used to playing against some of these players. You know, in yesteryear's Brownie's time, your time, these boys would have been facing these types of teams week in, week out, and that's the mentality we want to set. We don't want to go away from that. So, little disappointing in the first half in regard to how we approached it, and we didn't necessarily play with the courage that I try and implement in the boys. Second half, that changed. I think once they quickly recognised that, okay, we're at Chelsea and we're playing against Kante. They're not superheroes, they're just like us. We settled into the game, but by then we're 2-0 down, and these are the lessons that these boys have got to learn. They've got to learn quickly. Really, really pleasing that we were able to go over there and in last moments of the game we give away a penalty, so the scoreline doesn't really reflect the second half performance. But yeah, it's where we want to be, not just as an academy, but I think as a club we want to be involved in these types of games.
Absolutely, and what a fantastic experience. As you say, they will learn from that. The next time that happens, they'll give them a kick after 2 minutes. OK, the Charlton women's team continued their very good form by beating Coventry United 4-1 away on Sunday. And it was striker Mel Johnson who claimed very impressive hat-trick, with captain Emily Simpkins also getting on the score sheet with a well-placed strike. They've been in action again since then, drawing 1-1 away at Blackburn on Thursday evening, and they will hope to continue their unbeaten run and return to winning ways on Sunday when they face Sunderland tomorrow. Decent.
Yeah, no, listen, two left-foot strikes there, but Thursday night at Blackburn away, windy, cold and wet.
What are you trying to say?
Oh, I feel sorry for them.
They'll deal with it.
Up there on a
there you
Thursday
go.
night.
Well, there's on screen now confirmation of tomorrow's game against Sunderland in the Barclays Women's Championship. Kick-off for the Oakford at the early time of midday. Now remember, and this is to you as well, Brownie, the clocks go forward tonight.
It's my favourite weekend of the
So
year.
don't be late. Tickets are priced at just £8, £1 for concessions. You can get yours online from booking.cafc.co.uk or from the turnstiles, though there will be a price increase if you do buy on the turnstiles. Well, the initial notes from this week's Fans Forum, which was attended by CEO Peter Storey and manager Dean Holden, are available to read on cafc.co.uk. The topics of discussion included the latest on the proposed takeover of the club, player recruitment and season tickets for the 23-24 season, and the full notes will be available to read in due course. And ahead of the club's annual Red, White and Black Day on Saturday, April the 1st, Charlton TV's very own Charlotte Richardson will be hosting a free webinar session on Monday, March the 27th to celebrate the life of Stephen Lawrence. 3 decades on from his tragic murder in Eltham, Charlotte will be joined by first-team players Sean Clare and Michael Hector, as well as Head of Player Care Tracy Leeburn. The webinar is being supported by the EFL and the EFL Trust and is free to attend, and you can book your spot by heading to cact.gives. OK, right, back to today now, and Charlotte Richardson caught up with Valley Gold chair Matt Baker to talk all things academy.
Matt, thank you so much for joining us on Charlton TV. It's a pleasure to have you as chair of Valley Gold, because today is Academy and Valley Gold Day, a very special day in the calendar.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a really exciting day for the club. It's an exciting day for the Academy and us for Valley Gold as well. And I hope for the fans as well, when they can see some of the things we do today. They see some of the boys walking around at half-time. They realise how significant our Academy is. It's
been a very busy year. Can you give us a glimpse into how Valley Gold has been able to support the club with work off of the pitch?
One of the things that we've been keen to do, particularly after COVID, is to get the different age groups going on tours, playing in different competitions. There's a little video that's gone out this week as well that shows how much the players have valued that. And so some of the boys, one of the age groups went out to Madrid last year. We're funding that again this year for a tournament. We've got the Valley Gold Invitational tournament that we have here. That's going on in May. Some of the boys went out to the Super Cup, which we won in Northern Ireland as well. We've got a trip to the northeast. We've got a goalkeeper course that we're funding for the goalkeepers coming up over a weekend. Those sort of things are so valuable, and they're paid for by Valley Gold.
Yeah, the work is outreaching, and it's really, really important. What must be very pleasing for you, particularly this season, is seeing the number of academy players breaking in and having such an influence on the first team.
Absolutely, and as I was thinking about today, I'm going through them in my head. I think I'm going to forget a name because there's so many. You know, you just go from the back. You've got the likes of Ash in goal, who's come through this season. We forget Sean Clare actually was someone who was in the academy a few years ago. Then of course you've got up front, you've got Miles, you've got Dan Carney. We've had Albie for a while. We've had Lucas Ness who's come through. You know, there's a plethora of players coming through. Really good to see, and it bodes well for the future.
And Valley Gold supports the whole academy, and it's been, again, a really successful season across the age groups, hasn't it?
It has indeed, yeah. And as I said earlier, that's one of the things I like about the fact that we've got 8 and 9-year-olds walking around all the way up to those that are breaking into the first team, and it gives you that sense of longevity. You know, we're in it for I know it's the cliche, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. You know, there'll be some of these 9-year-olds that we see today who might be playing in 10 years' time in our first team, and that's why it's so important from a Valley Gold perspective that we get that support.
It is so important, and we want to keep that support going. So for anyone tuning in who would like to sign up and be a part of Valley Gold, where do they head to?
Sharon Shires is the key person who works for us in Valley Gold. Contact her, go through the website and just get in contact, and then you can pay your £10 a month, £120 a year, however you want to do it, and yeah, become a supporter. And of course we've got the online things that we're selling, the jackpot tickets on a match day as well. Today they'll be up. We've got the QR codes that are up around the stadium as well. That's another fun that comes in. So yeah,
amazing
two major
stuff.
ways.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's a really, really special day today, Scott. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks very much, Charlotte. Yeah, great to hear from Matt there, and the great job that he is doing, isn't it? But Danny, should we talk about the under-21 stars of the future and ones that are getting into the first team now? And first of all, I want to cast your mind back to August, first home game of the season, Sheffield United. Your goal scorers were Aaron Henry, Lucas Ness, Daniel Kanu and Dylan Gavin. I mean, all of those involved in the first team now, and Dylan has enjoyed a few loan spells too. How pleasing is that for you?
It's the whole purpose of the job, I think, Scott, is yes, it's great that we're getting the opportunity to win games and put performances on, but ultimately my job is to try and transition these boys into the first team or to go on and have a professional playing career. So to reel those names off, we have an idea that we think they've got a chance of getting close to it, but they've got to do their part, and a lot of those boys have when given the opportunity. That's all we can do. We can lead them to the first team door, and then after that it's up to them. And so some of them have really taken on board some of the messages, and you know, we're bearing the fruits right now.
Richard Chin and Zach Mitchell played in that game. Zach on the bench today. How talented was that group?
There's a lot of individual talent in that group. Some of them that you think that talent is going to take a little bit more time to nurture. Zach, for an example, was dipped into the first team, and it's nice to see him back in and around it, but he had a period of time back with us in the under-21s, and sometimes it goes that way. Sometimes other individuals like Miles will get an opportunity and they'll just go with it and find themselves as Miles does today as a first team regular. So we can see the talent there, but just how we get that talent to stay and how long we have to nurture that and spend time with it, it varies.
As someone who played over 400 games in men's football, how difficult, how big a jump is that transition from, you know, whether it be the 18s, under-21s academy to first team football, because there aren't the reserves anymore now, are there?
No, there isn't in our day. I think I did an article the other day saying in our day there was 3 subs, one of those was a goalkeeper, so it was a real challenge for us to come through. And then on top of that you had a lot of senior players playing in the reserve team, so it was a big challenge. Whereas with the boys now, they've got more time, they've got the 21s, they can go right up to 22 before they even get anywhere near the first team, which in some parts is good because it gives them the time. And the other side of it, some of them can become quite comfortable. I say to the boys all the time, the hardest part of becoming a footballer is this transition. Can you manage going into the first team, coming away from it, travelling all over the country, and maybe not getting an opportunity to even get on the bench? I think the prime example of that right now is Aaron Henry. Starts the season, has a real impact in some of the cup competitions, but has to wait and be patient and bide his time. Played for us the other day in the under-21s. He's now back in and around the first team. So that part of the transition is a really difficult, finely balanced part of it. But if they can come through it, it's that tests their character and shapes them for a longer career, as all three of us know.
Yeah, Brownie, how important is it as well when you're an AP or young pro and you see others making it and you feel you can do it? What was it like for you?
Yeah, my year wasn't a particularly successful year. Your one carried us a little bit. We dropped off rapidly when you were like that. No, yeah. I think as a football club, as a whole, rather than an individual year or an individual player, there is a pathway. And it's not, and that pathway gets tighter and tighter. With all due respect, it gets tighter and tighter the higher the club is in respect of what division it is, and it becomes really difficult to get players through when you're in the Premier League. But I think League One's a great platform. I've said this many times on the show. League One is a great platform to give people that first opportunity. And it's a platform where if they do all right, like Miles, they're in, they're off and away. But there is always, it doesn't matter how much development you've done with a player, there is always that unknown, that sink or swim moment where they deal with pressure, a fan base on their back if it's not going particularly well. And generally homegrown players get a little bit more time, don't they? So they get a little bit of grace there. But once that pressure starts to build, we don't really know. You can only put things in place to help them try and deal with things, but ultimately it's down to that individual. So there is always that sink or swim moment, and some of you may not think make it, just fly in, and some take a little bit more time. But yeah, I think it's important that as a club, we can sell the pathway has always been there, whatever division we've been in. It may tail off a little bit as we go higher up the leagues, but yeah, we've always been well known for bringing players through to the first team, and that's vitally important, Scotty.
Yeah, I mean, what's the key to the success? I mean, you've done the 18s. Does it look like we've got a good future coming through? And also your relationship with Dean, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, to start with, it's not just the 18s. We go right the way down to the 15s. We had an under 15 playing for our under 18s today. He came on and he did really, really well, and they win the game 5-0. There is a generation in the under 18s that we are quite confident about at the club, but as Brownlee rightly says, you never know until you put them in this environment and in this arena. It's all well and good doing it where they are in the under 18s. Very, very different when you have to step out and do it in front of fans, but we're confident of what's coming through behind them. Lost my train of thought in the last question.
Your relationship with Dean?
Dean. Yeah, Dean's been fantastic. We spoke about in the lobby. Dean's been really, really good. What Dean has done is come in, and not to say that anything in the past was any different, but Dean's come in, and the big thing about him is relationships, making sure that there's no hierarchy, making sure everyone feels valued at the football club. He makes sure he goes out of his way to go into the canteen, comes down to the academy. He's a real physical presence around the training ground, and that's what he's trying to set, a culture of togetherness so that we can all push forward to where we want the club to be.
Let's talk Wycombe now, and let's look at this photo here, because you and a Charlton legend after being named in the 2006
Wow.
League Two PFA Team of the Season. I like that reaction. That was a laugh there, and you just said, wow. Bring back good memories?
Yeah, great memories. Yeah. It goes so quickly, doesn't it? As we all know, you think at that time that you think you've got all the time in the world and your career's on the up and you think it's going to last forever. But a really proud moment for my family, really, that day was. And it was nice because, as I say, if I take it back to Wycombe, that's why I decided to stay at Wycombe. So I had an opportunity, a couple of clubs came in for me in the January window, and we were going well at the time. I personally was going well as the team was, and I just felt that it was only right after giving 8 years of service to the football club that I wanted to go out on a high. We got to the playoffs. Unfortunately, that season was hit with some devastating things that happened in that season, and we weren't able to quite get across the line. But for me personally, to be able to leave on that note was a really good thing for me.
I spoke to Chrissy just the other day, actually, and he hasn't changed, hasn't he? He literally is, and you hear it a lot, one of the nicest men in football. But look, Danny, great to have you with us. We're really pleased that we're seeing you, not just hearing you. And keep up the great work for the future. Well done. Okay, after a spell out of the side, Albie Morgan has certainly done very well getting back into the centre midfield, back-to-back victories. One of the best players so far as well in those two games, and I caught up with him a little earlier.
Albie, good to see you. Your return to the side has coincided with back-to-back victories, but how pleased are you just being back in the first team?
Yeah, that's the aim, to play as many games as possible, as many minutes. I'm at my happiest when I'm playing at football and away from football, so to be back in playing and winning is obviously a bonus, so I'm hoping that can continue today.
Does that make a big difference to you off the pitch as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think football's been my whole life, from when I first started playing for Charlton, coming to watch the first team from when I was 6, 7, 8. So to be playing in now, like I've said many times, is a massive pleasure, and I'm always grateful to be out there. So yeah, it definitely affects my mood off the pitch. So when we can go on a little run and win a few games, it definitely helps me out. Yeah.
I was the same as well, so I think we all are. Well, what do you feel we've done really well in the last 2 matches?
I think we've stuck our authority onto the game. I think we've gone to obviously Cambridge and done really well. The Morecambe game, we got the goals early, and I think it's just that togetherness, that spirit, that bit of belief. I think going into games thinking we can definitely go to these teams and win. I think that's where we've struggled this season. I think the teams down the bottom, we haven't gone to them, or when they've come to us, we haven't been at our best for I'm not sure what reason, but to be back out there and playing and getting these results and points is obviously a massive bonus for all of us.
We've won the last 2. You're playing well as well. What, did Dean ask you to do anything specific? What did he say to you when he did put you back in the side?
No, I obviously had a few chats with him, and then he pulled me before the Morecambe game and said I was going to go on a little bit of a run in the team, which was obviously a relief for me. I was very happy to hear that. So then to obviously come in and do quite well, I thought, as a team, as individually, to then get 6 points from the last 2 is obviously massive for me, because I know when the team are doing well and I'm having an input, that's obviously going to benefit me and give me a better chance of playing. So no, he just said to go out there, relax and enjoy playing, and whatever comes with it, and I'm grateful that I've got the minutes, and more importantly the 6 from 6.
Because it is difficult, isn't it, dipping in and dipping out of the team, and when you get the manager to say you're going to be playing on a regular basis, that gives you the ability to not worry all the time and maybe try certain things in games that you wouldn't if you're thinking, if this goes wrong, I might not be playing in the next game.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think just going into games relaxed is what every player should be going into the games. I think that's when you're going to show what you can do, and you're not going to be thinking about what's going to come after the game or how that's going to affect the future games. I think just going in relaxed and knowing that whatever the outcome is, you're going to be in a good position. There's no need to worry about what could happen. I think that's when, of course, you play your best football.
Absolutely. Not much to play for us in terms of going up. We're not going to go down. But for you personally, how important are these final 9 games that's left?
Yeah, massive. I think I want to play as many minutes as I can. I want to start every game going into the final game of the season. So whether that be playing 9 games, that's what the aim will be. I want to win as many as them games as possible. I know, like you said, there's not much to play for, but that doesn't mean we're going into the games thinking there's nothing to play for. I think we should be going in, and I think we are going into every game thinking that we are going to win, especially as we build up this run and obviously go into each game with a bit more confidence, which is obviously going to help us. But no, I just want to keep playing myself and obviously keep trying to get my numbers up, whether that's goals or assists, and just add what I can to the team.
Yeah, there's always professional pride in every game that you play. A final one for me then. I mean, been playing teams that are sort of around the relegation zone. It's going to be tougher today, isn't it, against
Wycombe?
Wycombe?
Definitely. I think we know what they're going to bring. Obviously, this week been going through their strengths and where we can obviously hurt them. But like I said earlier, I think just putting our game onto the other teams instead of letting them dominate their side, their positives and their strengths, instead of us kind of just taking a step back and letting them take their authority onto the game. I think we've got to step up today and try to do what we know we can do, and hopefully we can get the 3 points.
Keep up the good work. Good luck.
Thank you.
He's one of those players, Albie, isn't he, where you really want it to work for him, and he can't quite get those run of games. But the fact that Dean has said he wants to give him a run of games, he's got all the attributes, hasn't he? Why do you think it's not quite happened to him on a regular basis, and how do you see it going from now to the end of the season for him?
Goes back to the same. point, Scott, he's transitioning as well. I think we look at Albie sometimes and we think that he's an established 200, 300 league game player. He's not. He's a young player that's come through and he's still making his way in his transition. And the key part to the transition is consistency. Albie himself recognises that he's got to have some consistency to his game. And when he does get consistency, that's when he stays in the team. So going forward, for him to be given the opportunity to say that he's going to get a run of games, I think now is an opportunity for him to really see whether he can grip that and make the position his own.
What's impressed you about Albie in the last couple of games? Again, he has got the attributes, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, the fact that he hasn't let this season sort of get on top of him is an attribute in itself, because he's been put in the side, pulled out the side, and that's not a nice place to be. Been there many times.
Once or twice.
Yeah, and it's not a nice place to be because you can't actually get a rhythm to your performances, and actually you feel like sometimes that you're the fall guy. You know, you have 3 or 4 good games, and the minute you have a bad game, boom, you're out, and then you're back to square one, dealing with that. You know, you're driving home thinking about why, and all those things that go on with a football player. So that I quite like the fact that he's taken it on the chin, sat down, come back and bounce back into the side and perform well. So that is an attribute in itself, because a lot of players can sulk and then they don't train properly sometimes, they come back in the side and it doesn't work. And that just spirals out of control downhill. At least he's got the bounce back. But I mean, you can call Albie a Marmite player, can't you? There's a section of our fan base that will back him no matter what, and there is a section that don't think he's delivered, considering he's now 23, 22, 23.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So they think he should have progressed more by now. So and one thing we all know is you can't keep everybody happy. That's impossible. So, but I do like the way that he can come back into a side and bounce back when he's perhaps been pulled out and it's not his fault.
You've often joked with Curbs that it was 1-year contracts all the time, so you must have been in that position where your contract's running out with 9 games to go almost every year.
7 years, yeah. It shows, mate, doesn't it? It shows.
So the mentality.
34, I am.
So the tough paper round.
Yeah.
But the mentality, therefore, is very important.
Yeah.
Whether it's with Charlton, I'm sure he wants it to be with Charlton. He talked about how he, came here as a kid watching the club. But whether it is or whether it isn't, how important are these 9 games for him now, and the mentality, the right mentality he has?
Yeah, I mean, if he's out of contract, my argument would be that you shouldn't be relying. If you've been here for as long as he has, you shouldn't be relying on these 9 games to get yourself another contract, if I'm honest. However, that doesn't detract from the fact that you've got 9 games and whatever you're putting on a Charlton shirt. So in those 9 games, you will want to impress for yourself and for your team and for the supporters, etc. So I always believe you should never ever take for granted sliding on a football shirt any week. So if you are lucky enough to be sliding one on this weekend, then give it absolutely everything every time you set on that pitch. But I don't think he should have to impress over these 9 games to get another contract. If he doesn't get another contract, it's because we deem that we need to move on in that position.
Well, the fact that he's been told that he's got a run of games, I think they want to give him a go, don't they? So I'm sure he will do. Look, we're just minutes away from kick-off. Let's remind ourselves of the team, not just our team, but also Wycombe. And there we are. Just the one change for us as Stephen Sessignon comes in for Terrell Thomas, who got that fantastic win at St Lucia. I'd love to do an OB there, by the way, at St Lucia.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be good?
Oh.
But in terms of Wycombe, Danny, some key players out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big loss for them, losing Vokes, and McCleary's a huge loss for them as well. But that being said, you've got Lewis Wing, who's a threat from midfield, Josh Scowen, who can cover the ground, and then Brandon Hanlon will be a constant runner. The one for me at the minute who's in good form is TJ DeBar. We really must find a way of managing him, because he's probably going to be the threat now with McCleary coming out of the team. But that midfield 3 of Wheeler, Wing, and Scowen, without the ball, I believe are the best midfield 3 in the division. So we have to manage that, and I think there's a plan in place to ensure that we do.
Yeah, Wings contributes attack-wise as well, with assists and goals. I'm a little slightly concerned about us at set pieces with Thomas coming out and Sessignon coming in. I think we're now going to have to rely on a couple of people that aren't natural man markers. So set pieces, I think, may be a bit of an issue for us today. We'll see.
Yeah, have you seen a difference at all with Matt Bloomfield coming in and Gareth Ainsworth in terms of tactics, or do you feel it's pretty much the same?
Slight changes in variations of it. Matt tries to play a little bit. They went to Bristol Rovers and they tried to play a little bit. He sits off a little bit away from home as well, so it might be a case of they're going to sit off today and see whether they